Good morning, everyone. It is 5:33 in the morning on Saturday, and I couldn't sleep. I was tossing and turning, and I just woke up. I was like, okay, time to get up. Can't keep on sleeping. Then I'll take a nap this afternoon at some point, and then I won't be able to sleep tonight. It's just this terrible cycle. But at least the coffee turned out somewhat decent. Have you ever, when you make coffee, why is it that sometimes it's fantastic. It's like the best the best coffee you've ever had, and on other occasions, it's the worst coffee in the world. I can't understand it. And you use the same ratio of coffee grounds to water, and all the other things you do is just by muscle memory the same. Weird stuff, huh? Okay, so what is this? Well, what I like to do when I have these very tumultuous inner contests of wit about headphone reviews is that I want to upload the review, take some time, a couple of hours to think about it, come back and really address the underlying issue. And that's what I want to do. I just want to spend a very brief amount of time talking about my impression between the Neumann and the Ethers, and why I was so irritated. The Neumanns are really good headphones, and I've said that before. I still say that now. I'm wearing them right now, listening to music as I'm recording this. The Neumanns are comfortable. They are stylish for some. They produce they produce sound very well, but I am not wowed by them. And when you're an audiophile or an individual that it just wants the best bang for your money, you really want to be impressed. You want your money to take you further than you thought it would. Unfortunately, these headphones don't seem to provide that type of experience. Now, yesterday, at the end of my video, I said, I really don't want to give a conclusion about whether or not these headphones are worth $500. I had a chance to ruminate, and I figured, what's the point of making you people wait? Let's just come out with it. This is what this whole process is about. It's not making people wait. It's trying to explain things as they go on. So here's my impression at this point. I don't think that these headphones are worth $500. And I don't know what price point I would put these headphones. Sometimes I could say, and I have said, that I find these particular pair of headphones, they're not really worth $900, $1,000. I think that at most you should pay $700. And here's why. I said something like that for the LCD 2, closed. And when I reviewed the AudioQuest Nighthawk, I said I would pay 3 or 4 or 5 times the price of what I actually paid, which was $150, because that's how good these Nighthawks are, and that was true. But how much would I pay for the Neumanns? I don't know. I don't know how much I would pay for the Neumanns. I wouldn't pay for the Neumanns again if I had the option, and I would know what I know now. Having that information before, would I purchase the Neumanns again? The answer is probably not. It's not an emphatic no. It's not that these headphones are terrible, that they don't belong in my collection. It's not that. I think these do indeed belong in my collection, same as the Ether C Flows belong in my collection, which is they're unique headphones. The Neumanns do something unique. It's just not unique enough to justify having these over the Ethers. Nor is it, in my opinion, justified to buy these and say that these are equal to the Ethers. I don't think that they are. Now, everything I said yesterday, you might say to yourself, what the things that he's saying seem minor. And that's okay. If you think that for you, the differences are minor and it will not affect what you want the Neumanns to do, then that's fantastic. Now you saved yourself at least $1,000 if you're paying MSRP. You saved yourself a ton of money by getting a really nicely built pair of headphones, and you'll be much happier for it. And you will hopefully use them until they break. But if you're not particularly impressed with the things I have found about the headphones, as opposed to not being particularly impressed with me, that's a separate problem. If you're not particularly impressed with what we've talked about so far with the Neumanns, then you need to take a step back, I would think, and ask yourself, what is the purpose of the Neumann? Why? Why the Neumann? Every time that there is something that's presented to you and somebody says, buy it, the question that should pop up at some point is, why did you make this? And if the answer is, well, we made it to make money, if that's the only answer you can come up with, then you should be much more hesitant to put down your money. Because the company didn't create the product to solve a problem. In fact, the company didn't even create a problem to solve. They just created a product to sell. Now, I'll give you a great example. Apple. When Steve Jobs was in charge of Apple, he would see 5 to 10 years down the line, and he would say, that's what I want to do. I want to get there. And people would tell him, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not what the market is asking for. And his response, and I think it's been documented, his response was, well, people don't know what they want until they have it, or something to that effect. He was able to identify what the issue was that wasn't being addressed, and he would present a solution to it. The iPod is a phenomenal example. It is the perfect. It has changed so much about our society, and I do mean that. It has changed a significant amount about our society and the way we consume music and music. The iPhone did the same thing. So he was able to identify a problem and then make a solution. Whether you like the solution or not, that's up to you. But with respect to these Neumanns, what's the problem they're trying to solve? What is it? Well, some might say there's no portable pair of headphones for mixing and mastering. Well, that's not true. There is a portable mixing and mastering headphone. Audio-Technica makes several of them, and they're very good. And they're much cheaper than, well, some of them are much cheaper than the Neumanns. I think the M70X are probably almost the same price. I'll have to go back and check again. AKG makes some really good reference class, neutral-ish headphones. And I'm not a fan of AKG. I don't like the style of their headphones. I don't like the size of their headphones. And I'm not a particular fan of their sound signature. But that's an alternative a lot of people use. So Neumann doesn't really have a problem to solve. So why did Zeos recommend the Neumann so heartily? Somebody commented about this comparison from last night. I was talking about microbiotic details and I was talking about micro details, and he said microbiotic and probiotic, and he went on this great commentary about biotics and micro details and all this stuff. And it was really, really funny, very creative, and it was tongue in cheek. I take it. In one sense, you could say, look, that's stuff that doesn't really matter, but for some people, it does matter. And it should matter if you're talking about headphone companies and their marketing. If the company is marketing the headphone for mixing and mastering, then you have to consider micro details. You have to take into consideration how they perform on the minuscule as well as on the macro. I just don't know how you can separate the two and say one is not important, as important. I mean, if you're using it for that particular purpose, it is important, I would think, right? So why did Zeos recommend these headphones so heartily? Well, why did he recommend the Ether C Flow so heartily? If you go to Google and you just do a Ether C Flows and not even bring up Zeos, his video shows up, and it says, Z reviews, Ethers and Ether Flow C, financial crisis inbound. I remember watching that video, And I said, wow, these must be fantastic headphones. And he said they were fantastic headphones. Nothing will beat them. He was wowed by their performance. And then all of a sudden, he goes the other direction. And he recommends the Neumanns. And, at some point, you gotta stop recommending stuff just because you have it and you tend to like it. I don't think that the Neumanns are competitors for the ethers. I don't think that overall they give you the same impression of the music. They are not as comfortable. They are not as accurate with the sound, because I said that the ethers have a bit more analytical sound than the Neumanns. And the Neumanns in comparison, tend to have a darker tonality to the music. I don't know if mixing and mastering for those purposes, you want a darker headphone. Do you want a headphone that is cleaner and wider and more analytical, or do you want something that is what the Neumann does? I can't tell you. I mean, that's your personal taste and preference. But the Neumanns do not compete with the ethers, in my opinion. Now, do they compete with any other headphone? That's yet to be determined. They very well could do great compared to other headphones. They could do very well compared to the Denons. And I don't really have all that many closed-back headphones. But the Denons are the closed-back headphones that I have. I have some Sonys, but those aren't reference class headphones. We could do it at the DT1990, but that is mostly open. So we're just going to have to stumble along with this, and that's part of the problem, is that there are not that many good closed-back, neutral-sounding headphones. It's hard to create that, number one. And number two, it's hard to find those at a reasonable price when they are made. Tell me what you think. Do you think that the Neumanns are worth $500? I mean, would you pay $500 for a pair of headphones with the characteristics that we've identified so far? Do you think that Zeos Pantera was slightly overselling, like he does with everything now? Just, every video that pops up, I expect him to say, buy these. And I am usually correct. A product has to be so awful, just so awful, that he has to be irritated to the level of saying don't buy them. His default is buy. And when your default is you should definitely buy these, then you're not doing anybody any real justice. You're not helping your audience determine what is good and what is bad. Because you're not being, part of the pun, you're not being neutral. You're already skewed to one side, which is endorsement. Endorse, endorse, endorse. And it really does help those companies, doesn't it? It helps those companies have confidence that Zeos is very likely going to endorse them. And they are more likely to send him stuff. If you've ever seen his unboxing channel, watched any of those videos, he gets so much stuff. It piles up. Why? Do companies want to send out free stuff all the time? Well, some do, but not all of them. In fact, if you're a smaller company, you want to be a little circumspect about where you send your material. But any company that has an idea or feeling that a particular reviewer is going to give them a positive review is going to send their product out there, if nothing else but for exposure, with the confidence that it's going to be properly, positively reviewed. And that's what Zeos does. He gives it positive reviews the vast majority of times. I don't think that the Neumanns deserve the glowing review that he gave them. And I think that the Neumanns are good headphones. They're just not amazing headphones. They're not great headphones. They're good headphones. And what is the price tag for good headphones? We will find out. Now, what you can do is you can leave a comment down below and you can say, this is what a good, quote-unquote, undefined good headphone should cost. Maximum amount of money I'm willing to pay for a good pair of headphones. Okay. Then we'll try to see if the Neumanns stack up. Thank you, everybody. I will upload another video at some point, and do another review comparison between the Neumanns and probably the Denon, either the 7200 or the 5200. I want to find out which one is the more neutral of the two, of the Denons, and then compare it with the Neumanns. Thank you. Have a wonderful Saturday morning. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for subscribing. I hope to talk to you soon.